We'll find out in 30 seconds.
Third
What
time's
was
the
the problem
charm.
last time?
We don't know.
All right.
I feel like that hat is really hiding your face there.
Yeah, it is on purpose.
But we look better. We look better, I think, thanks to the Techno Kings.
We're
You were the thing holding the whole thing together, dude.
not streaming in 120p anymore.
Man. I had a meltdown earlier. I was like,
Okay.
fuck! All the settings.
Well, the good news is we are live. The title is weird.
I mean,
It says,
I
"Welcome
see
to our live show."
a live, but I don't see us.
How do I change that?
Do you see us?
see
It's in the settings somewhere. I mean, you can edit it in YouTube for sure in Studio,
Like later or now?
like now.
Oh,
You
okay.
can.
Here,
you wanted to
tell
do
your
that.
story about You Are the Alcohol.
Tell
and
us
I'll-
a story.
I don't see a live, but if you want,
We're
I'll keep
live.
going. All right.
Oh yeah, we're
So
there. It is.
I am the liquor.
Nobody's here to
GM.
listen to it live, but you know the people on the recording will appreciate it.
I mean, what recording?
Are you dropping the link in the Discord?
I am.
Nice. My man is on it.
There's a lot of-
I'll tweet it too.
A lot of happenings going on, and I'm just having a beverage, a la Frank Leahy.
Wait,
love
is
that.
this the episode? Welcome to our live
Yeah,
show.
welcome to our live show. I
Okay.
don't know. It's some sort of auto title. Switch to Riverside, they said. It'll be easy, they said.
All right. Well, I see it now.
Do we look better?
We do look better.
It's completely different.
That's impossible. We looked amazing before.
We did not look amazing. It's a continuous pain point of mine.
I don't know if I want to be in HD, boys. Too many blemishes.
I'm definitely a little envious of that side, the colors, the lighting, the blue lights.
Do you?
Yeah, we
think-
look way better over here.
Way better.
We gotta fix that.
Do you think that we might be like a little more old school or something?
Yeah,
like,
we look.
You could spin it.
So Eric comes in the office, and I come out of my office and I see Eric, and I'm like, okay, that can't be his first beer. How many beers have you had? He's like, I think it's my third one. And the more he starts talking, I'm just like, dude, this guy is in the pocket, like perfectly nestled into the pocket. Are you still in the pocket?
I think so. I could probably press the gas a little bit.
Yeah. Have you seen that Swedish movie where the teachers just operate at like a 0.1 ABV?
Oh yeah, what's that called?
0.08
Another
ABV?
round.
Yeah, another
great,
round.
Great
Have you
movie.
seen it?
Great movie.
It's Adrian's favorite movie, apparently.
Yeah, Danish philosopher said that human beings are actually under boozed.
Under boost.
As sober, you're under boozed. You should be operating at like a 0.05 or something.
is
What are
the
you
logic?
optimizing for there?
Um,
The whole premise of the movie is that they just live their lives in the pocket. They're like, what would it do? Would it remove my anxieties? Would I perform better? Would it enhance my life to just live in that
Wait,
pocket?
they're just drunk all the time?
no,
Yeah,
no,
not drunk,
in the pocket.
in the pocket. That's
and,
right.
and in the movie, it like depicts perfectly what happens. It's like life gets way better for all of them, and then they just want more, and then they get too drunk. But like being in the pocket,
Slippery.
being in the pocket is the
You
key.
can stay in the pocket. And then it's not just you talking, it's the liquor talking, but a little bit of both. And you become the liquor.
Leahy.
So everyone missed that, and we didn't even finish it, but shout out to Trailer Park Boys.
Trailer
Was the
Park Boys
summary.
is like an underrated show. It's a Canadian comedy.
Never saw it.
I mean, it's wild.
Does it take place in Canada?
It takes place in a trailer park
In Canada.
in Canada.
You don't think of trailer parks as being Canadian?
Right.
And the number one word is what, Eric? That they use throughout the whole show.
Oh God, there's so many
Hey, buddy.
Canadian
buddy.
phrases.
Bud, buddy.
Hey, bud.
Every variation of bud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ain't your guy, buddy.
So-
Ain't your buddy guy.
I think of this show like I lived in Canada briefly, and I was introduced to the show back in the 2010s, and it's kind of like Canada's version of Always Sunny in Philadelphia. It's like a degenerate friend comedy, and it's really good.
It's absolutely wild. It's confusing. My first time watching, I was just confused, enamored, perplexed, but also like infatuated with each character, and just curious. I was so curious, like what is going on. But I instantly fell in love with Mr. Leahy, who, rest in peace, passed away.
Did he?
Apparently. Yeah.
And so did Philadelphia Collins, who was was the namesake of our marathon team in Canada. This marathon, I put in quotes because it was like a booze-a-thon. You run a mile, chug something, pass it off to some other guy who runs,
wow.
chugs.
You would.
Yeah.
So, like, no budget, no real actors. Like, the whole story's crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And then just got this, like, mainstream attention, 17 seasons. Or
Yeah,
something
you're in
ridiculous.
for a long haul.
Yeah,
dude.
I'm only I've watched like 3 episodes. So
Yeah, it stays good. I got another one for you, though. Letterkenny, you seen that one?
No.
Oh my God. It gets even better.
Is it with Kenny Powers?
No, it's like another
just assumed
Canadian
that.
comedy that's like only about the Canadian vernacular and the little like phrases that are so good. You're gonna love. Just finish Trailer Park Boys and then graduate to Letterkenny. It's amazing.
You know what I started watching? Landman.
Oh, amazing.
Oh,
So good.
an oil show, right?
Yeah, Billy Bob.
What do
Billy
you like
Bob.
the show for?
What do I like?
Anything
it
in
for?
particular, or just like
It's just
the
good.
plot, or
It's just
Okay.
It's just good for.
Do you like it for Ali Larder?
I don't know who that is, but yeah, probably.
Landman is, I think it's a Tyler Sheridan joint.
Man, he is just pumping
He's on
out
fire.
hits.
The Yellowstone.
Yeah,
guy?
Yellowstone, and then he did like 3 more. Now
makes
he's got like
sense.
17 shows that he's quote unquote producing.
That are all like pumping.
Yeah.
It looks like some people found their way into the stream.
Okay.
Welcome, welcome.
Yeah.
It's like our 3rd live.
It's like hard to find us now. Yeah, we had like too many viewers.
Yeah,
You know,
what's
we had
the
to make
password?
the stream more difficult to access.
Okay,
Scarcity.
So this is. I don't like this.
I don't like that.
Are you tidying
Okay.
up?
Yeah, so I don't
Tidying
like,
it up, the
yeah,
shot.
this
art-
This
the-
was hurting the shot.
The
Producer
art of tidying
Arman?
up.
Yeah, and then Steven's got good microphone placement.
good?
Alan, he's good.
I'm
I
talking.
made
to
him
the mic.
adjust.
Alan
Even
approved.
though he blew me off last time.
I did not blow you
Completely
off.
blew-
I did not blow you
I
off.
watched it on repeat and it was big poo pooing.
No,
it was such a blow off.
no, the mic is sacred to me.
Armand said, Steven, why don't you put the mic a little closer to your mouth? And you're like,
I was responding to our producer's request.
Meh.
Okay, better. This laptop is in the shot.
We've got like the blue side and the black side here.
So should I
It's
tell
like blue
people?
versus black.
Should I tell people how embarrassing what we figured out was, or no? Just don't even talk about it.
no, let's just move forward.
Okay. don't embarrass ourselves as the Techno Kings.
Techno Kings.
Best no more news like this for the sake of our podcast.
I think I'm going to share. So every single setting on the cameras was wrong.
Shocking.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't anticipate
So
that
if
at
you
all.
do feel that the quality has improved, that's what we did.
I wonder if people actually think the quality has improved. Or if it's just
Marty
like
said best ever. Best it's been.
You have to be like a really big ETH bag holder to think that the quality hasn't improved. Just like very.
Oh wait, you didn't drag. I suggested that topic today, and you didn't drag it in.
I know.
So we're not going to talk about that.
Well, this is going to lead into the grinds my gears section.
Okay, can we go right
Can
into
we,
the?
can we just jump
well,
into the
not yet,
grinds my
actually.
gears section? or
Also,
do we have to do other stuff
Where's
first?
the alfalfa lately? Let me get an alfalfa round or something.
Okay, I got a little something.
You got something?
Every
I got like
once in a while.
50% alfalfa, but it also could be fake.
I had an alfalfa.
So
I forgot it.
I need
Wow.
to
Deep
chat about it with you
alfalfa.
guys. But welcome back, everybody. Welcome to the Alfalfa Podcast. We're back. We're live again. 5 p.m. PST on Wednesdays. Sometimes 6 p.m. because it takes an hour to get everything set up properly.
No,
But we're
that
back
was a
live.
one-off.
And most importantly, Eric's back. Welcome back, Daddy.
Hi, guy.
Our
Yeah.
fearless camera switcher. Apparently, the camera was just not on me last
Yeah,
week.
like there's a few moments we were drinking the Baijiu, and then I would be like looking, kind of zoning out, and I'd like, oh shit.
Poor Alan was like, guys, I can't make a clip.
Like Arman's just speaking while we're zoning out over here.
It's second nature to me. When we're like hanging out without cameras, I still just do the ones and twos in my pocket.
Spitting up everywhere. I can
Oh
totally
my God.
Is that what that weird tapping is when we're all hanging out? We're just-
Oh,
That's
is
that's
that the,
That's this.
Eric, you weren't here last week, so I feel like we should re-indoctrinate you back into the podcast. And there's only one way to do that. So excuse me for 1 second.
oh my God, yes,
Oh, yay.
yes, dude, this stuff is so good. You're gonna love
I
it.
already know what he's going to
You're
do.
gonna love it.
I already know
You're
what he's
you're gonna
do.
love
Is
it.
this Mutai?
You're gonna love it. This is good stuff. This is an expensive bottle. Nick went and
did
out
you
of his
watch
way
me
for
drink
this.
this on last week's podcast?
No, I heard you guys talking about it afterwards.
You're gonna like it.
Oh, dude,
Oh, look
hold
at
on.
that two-handed
Hold on.
service.
For the camera. Do it for the camera. The pageantry.
That's just
Thank
your butt
you.
in the way here.
Okay, so I got it in a one-hander. And
Make
then,
a wish.
do you take a little shooter of it? How do you do it?
Oh yeah, shoot it up. 10 mils.
It's 10 milliliters, so it's nice and easy. And,
Okay.
Yeah, you'll be fine. Make a wish. Hasta la vista, buddy. He's gonna like it. I bet he's gonna like it.
Okay, so the initial taste,
Comes at you in waves.
the initial taste wasn't bad. It's just like, oh, alcohol, and then it was like poop. It's like I've never tasted poop, but I think
Rat poop.
it's kind of like a Tootsie Roll, actually.
Yeah, a rancid one.
Like a
Rancid.
Tootsie Roll.
I was
gone
thinking
Good
bad.
actually. Tootsie Rolls.
Battery
good
acid?
description.
I described it as rancid cinnamon toast crunch.
You described it as. Nah, can't even repeat it.
It's weedy, yeah. There's some like wheat.
I can't even
There's
say
some
what you said you'd
weird
rather
stuff
do.
going on.
There was an Easter egg in there because we were all yelling at the same time, and then Steven in the background was like, "I'd rather suck this guy's dick." And I didn't even notice it until I watched the episode. My family over the weekend, it was my birthday, and they were like pulling up Alfalfa on the TV. I was like, "What are you guys doing? Don't do this! Don't do this!" And then like I was like, "Oh my god, no!"
I was like, wait a second, you guys watch the episodes over again?
No.
Happy birthday, by the way, dude.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, cheers.
Oh
man.
yeah.
Happy birthday.
Happy. This is
Yeah.
your.
Oh, I
this
can
is your,
smell you.
Yeah, I can smell it in my breath.
This is your pod birthday.
All right,
Pod
cheers.
birthday.
Happy pod birthday.
Thanks for.
How many of these did you guys do? I'm glad that
Three?
4,
3 or
5?
4? Yeah.
I did at least 3. I think Nick made me do 4.
I'm just
Commitment.
immune to it now. I had to do 2 weeks
commitment to
straight
the
of it.
bit. I like that.
Well, yeah, that shot of Baijiu, sponsored by ZBiotics. So go to zbiotics.com/alfalfa. Use the code alfalfa at checkout. You forgot,
shoot.
right?
I did, but it's in my pocket.
Okay, so this is live proof of how important ZBiotics is to our life.
Saved my birthday.
Yes, I was just going to bring that up.
My birthday. Oh my
I took
God.
a day off like a week ago just because I don't know why. I was like, I'll be fine, and I was not fine.
Right. You forgot, and then you realize the penalty. So,
After that party, dude, because taking
No,
shots.
that was good after the
yeah,
party.
we took shots, which
Our
as
mom was
grown
in
men,
college
we,
again. It's just
Yeah.
feeding me.
Wait,
tequila.
hold on.
Dude,
I thought we had graduated.
no, we
No.
were
That's what
ripping,
I thought too.
not for a birthday.
ripping tequila shots.
I don't know what happened to me.
I'm so proud
I
of you
made
guys.
everyone take a shot that walked.
No, that's amazing.
Yeah,
So
you would have loved
proud.
it.
Yeah, I would have. I would have really.
And
thrived.
because of the pre-alcohol, we're all blessed that next Sunday morning. So as a reminder, pre-alcohol is the genetically engineered probiotic that gets rid of that nasty toxin.
acetaldehyde.
There it is.
Yeah,
By the way,
sorry.
it is pronounced acetaldehyde.
Yeah,
Correct.
It is.
So
I don't know who said the other thing. I don't even want to repeat it.
Yeah, somebody. I watched some other podcast that had Mario Lopez on it,
What?
and the guy pronounced it acetaldehyde.
Oof.
No.
Wow.
Doesn't even-
Wrong.
Doesn't even
Wrong.
roll.
We would
off the
never
tongue.
lead you astray like that
Yeah.
phonetically, guys. we would
Mario
never lead you
Lopez
astray
podcast.
phonetically. Anyway, yeah, you take it a few hours before you start drinking, and then you'll feel a lot better in the morning. You can still get that workout in. You still get the work done. Yeah, so check it out. Go to zbiotics.com/alfalfa. And if you use our code alfalfa, you get 15% off. And always, if it doesn't work for you, if you don't like it, they'll give you your money back. So thanks, ZBiotics, for supporting the pod. And
I'm gonna have a row of them for my 40th.
I think it's the way to go.
Yeah.
It's
Is
almost
that-
like impolite if you
that
don't
next year?
provide it to your
Next
guests.
year.
Yeah.
Can I share some alfalfa?
Please.
Time flies.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Time flies, guys.
This
Can't
last
believe
year,
not even
I do
40.
not feel my age.
you know what's funny is
I
that
feel about 32.
you're technically 40 now, right?
No.
Because-
39th year.
Because you count zero.
No, you finished your 39th year.
That's
You're
true.
now on your 40th year.
39 and
Yeah.
yeah.
You don't start 0.
on the 40th year.
Yeah.
You know, in Persian culture, that's people do that. Like like when they talk about their age, they talk about it that way.
You mean when
You're
you
on your 40th
translate it?
year.
right-
Yeah. So it's like they're always adding a year essentially.
Mm.
And so I'm like, I'll have to tell people like, no, I'm this age, and they're like, not according to us.
The Baijiu is
Yeah.
doing things.
Yeah.
It's like burning now.
Good luck.
I realize I think I know what it's for. I think it's 106 proof on purpose so that when you eat the chicken head and the chicken feet
Oh
and
my
the
God.
bird you don't understand what it is and the fish and the weird
Wash
part of
her
the
down.
pork, it actually helps keep your tummy safe. Just burns all the
Safe, or it just like
burns all the bad things that could be lurking in
I
your
like
tummy.
that. Kill the bugs.
Yeah.
Were you eating that stuff?
What? Yeah.
Fish heads and chicken feet.
No,
and-
I mean, like, I didn't actually eat the weird parts I didn't like, but I was telling these guys they put the whole animal on the table. So whatever it is.
You're not
Stolen.
expected to assimilate to their culture.
Well,
when you're
they're
there, or-
like extreme hosts. So like, if you happen to glance at that weird thing on the table, they'll be like, "Oh, he wants it. Here, move it over. Move the lazy
7
Susan.
more.
Get it over. Here, try. You have some. Here, you want 2?" And you're just like, "No, I was just looking at it because I was astounded that this is a food."
just photographing the fact that you guys order this shit.
Yeah. But that being said, most of it is actually delicious.
Yeah.
You can kind of sort your way to like a very delicious meal. All right. Do you want to start with grind my gears, or do you want to my maybe alfalfa,
I
maybe
want
shim?
your pseudo.
All right.
you're really selling it.
Well, I found a tweet the other day, and I was like,
Okay.
"Is this amazing?"
Is this
Okay,
alpha?
so maybe Arman, you can bring it up, but I'll read it out first. So this guy says you are better off.
Well,
gift-
what am I looking up?
Okay, you're looking in the card.
Oh, in the card.
In the
You do that.
card, there's a card that says using your parents as a tax-free retirement account ?
No, this is Steven's grind my gears. Oh no. Here we go.
There it
Okay,
is.
so let's camera 3 this bad boy. Cool.
With a picture in picture.
Yeah, so here we are. You are better off gifting your dad $19,000 a year in a separate brokerage account every year. Let it grow until he dies. Transfer to you and the entire account in a stepped-up cost basis, aka no taxes for you. So I think this was in like a long day of talking about retirement plans and creating tax-free wealth over time. So essentially what you're doing is taking like post-tax money, gifting it to a family member that you trust, and putting it in an irrevocable trust so that it for sure goes to you when that person passes away. And it seems like all the growth of that is tax-free, because when they die, that becomes your new tax basis when you inherit the account. So I guess as I'm talking about it, kind of just sounds like a Roth in which you're putting in money and it grows tax-free.
It's a Roth with higher limits.
But yeah, exactly. Much higher limits. I know there's like a
What's normal limit? 4K.
No, it's like I think it's like 7K now or
Yeah.
something.
but for high income earners, if you earn a certain amount, I don't think you're even eligible
Yeah, it's
to
like-
contribute to a
There's
Roth.
like a 150K income limit or something like that.
You can do a backdoor though
You backdoor, you do a
what I do.
traditional and then convert it over.
at the end of the year.
Wait.
Yeah.
What if you gift your dad 19K and your mom 19K?
Exactly. You could go.
Really?
You could.
Holy shit.
So the part about gifting that I never really understood is there is an annual limit, but then there's this lifetime limit, which is like $12 million.
12 million, yeah.
And if you gift more than 19K in a year, you have to tell the IRS. But if you're still under the lifetime, you don't pay taxes on it. So
But
like,
here's the problem.
it's not really a 19K a year. You can send them as much as you want.
Here's the problem if you have siblings. What if your parents then just divvy up their assets?
Trust.
Irrevocable trust.
Irrevocable trust. Wait, how much does it cost to set up a trust?
I mean, you could probably do one on like trustandwill.com for.
Shout out Cody Barbo.
Yeah, that's how you're the one who mentioned them to me.
Yeah, future billionaire.
So anyway, to the CFA across from me, does this sound like a legitimate mini hack?
Dude,
I mean,
I this was never part of the CFA materials, but I do like this. I like this a lot. I think
Wait, this seems too good to be true.
I honestly don't know the rules on how like the cost basis steps up. So like this is like news to me.
you could. Well, I think that it depends on the inheritance rules, right? You're allowed to get a certain amount of inheritance up. You're in your tax free up to like, I don't know, $10-20 million.
Yeah, I think last I looked at it was like 15 or
Okay.
something like that.
So yeah, you could potentially gift them up to the max of the lifetime tax-free giftable amount, put it in a brokerage account, let it grow, and
And then just like reclaim
This
it.
is like actually insane because if I have my mom and dad are divorced, I basically can gift them like 38K a year every year and then
more.
grow it.
You could give them more. You could give them like $1 million
why do
right
you
now.
say why do you say
So
19K?
so the 19K is like the gift limit, right?
Yeah.
On an annual basis.
per year. But then again, there's
Per year per person?
per year per person, I believe, but there's a lifetime max, which is like 10 million. So you would never hit
I'm
it
not gonna
across.
hit that.
I actually think that the 19 limit. I mean, we're getting into the weeds here, but I think that's actually like it's your limit to gift.
Oh,
I
Okay.
think.
I was gonna say.
but
You'll
I
find a
looked
lot
this
of
up because I had to like go around this thing, and it says you just have to tell the IRS, hey, I gifted more than the limit, but the annual limit, but I'm still below the lifetime limit, so no taxes. But you have to let them know.
So I could gift like $100K to each parent
Yeah,
a year.
yeah,
It would still take like 50 years to hit the 10 million limit.
yeah. So it's like a uncapped, almost essentially uncapped,
That'd
like,
be like
Roth.
millions and millions in like tax savings.
I
don't
think
know
it's
how
all
this-
legit.
What?
I don't know how this was categorized as like a maybe alpha. This is incredible.
Because it feels like it can't possibly be
Well,
true.
I think
because
there-
the math would be like insane on it.
There is a gotcha, is that you have to you're actually giving the money to
Trust
that
your
other. You
parent.
have to trust your parent, right? And that they're not going to like be like, well, export funds and do that.
Can
So
you do that with a trust?
I think it has to be in their name because you have to give them. They have to have control over it.
It's irrevocable.
Yeah, for them.
I think it's
I don't
the
know how trust
irrevocable. The irrevocable part is that it goes to you after they die, and that the money always stays in the trust. It never
Okay,
goes
so
outside the
they
bounds of the
could
trust.
Take the money out of the trust?
No,
Oh, so
they can
you
take
don't
it out of
even
the
have to trust
account.
them.
They can take it out of the account. Yeah, it's still trust money, but it's out of the
So
account.
the worst they could do is uninvest it.
Uninvest it and potentially take the money out.
You can take
You
your
just told me
money.
they can't take the money out.
No, well, the trust and the account are two different things.
I
One
see.
is inside the other.
Okay.
Take it out of the brokerage account.
Yeah,
It's
and
inside
spend
the
it.
computer.
All right. Well, anyway, I thought this was interesting, and I read it, and I was
very
like,
good.
"What the fuck?"
All right, we're gonna look into that. That is
I think it's legit.
wild if true.
Anyway, chat, check us on that. Let us know if anyone's done anything. I've seen something similar in regards to life insurance, but I think that's more about giving your parents a way. It's a way to gift, a family member money while still getting paid back in the end. But I think it's a separate topic. All right. So anyway, that was sounds like potentially high confidence alfalfa.
That was probably
I mean,
the best alpha
related-
anybody's ever shared on this show. I don't know why you were so meek about it.
Related, if you have kids, like people start to think about having a trust and a will, and term life insurance, something to look into. I just set all that up.
Good.
So
What'd you use?
USAA.
You have access to USAA?
Mm-hmm.
Oh
We have
man,
military in the family.
no way.
Yeah.
I heard the mortgage rates are chef's kiss.
I don't know, but the term life insurance was a good rate. Not like so much better, but like maybe 10% less than like a State Farm or something.
Pretty cool.
So, it's like I just looked at it as like a 20-year term. So it's like, what do I earn every year? Worst case scenario, something happens, you're gone, you die, your kids, being able to pay for a mortgage, being able to cover your, essentially your salary. And then if I feel I get my net worth to a point where passively Erica could like draw enough to cover that much and more, I would just cancel it.
Or you can cancel it.
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
cancel it.
You basically stop paying.
Yeah, you stop.
And I guess the 20-year term probably aligns with the fact that your
my net worth
daughters.
either at that time will definitely be greater as well. Is
Oh,
the
I was
idea.
thinking more like your daughters could like get a job by then and pay for
Yeah,
themselves.
yeah, but also I'm looking at it as like you're covering your earnings, and it's either going to happen in the next 20 years or by 20 years. So I'd either cancel it, stop paying, or in 20 years at 59, I better be there.
So I have that scenario covered off, right? Like if something happens to me, my mom, my wife, everyone's like good. But the one I don't have taken care of is like disability insurance. And someone brought it up to me, and it's been like lurking in the back of my mind. Like, let's say you got hurt enough where you couldn't really earn anymore, but you're not dead. So you still need to live off your assets and probably need more money because you need extra care and you can't earn. So anyway, we're having them look at disability insurance.
Yeah, I wasn't
like, what if you
considering that
lost
one.
your 10 fingers?
Yeah,
Yeah.
wasn't thinking about that one.
Anyway, so something to think about. 'cause
And the
it's
number
something-
and the number changes as you have kids, and now I have a second one, and I'm like, 20 years of coverage. That's a lot of money.
I've always felt
For
like I
two
was
girls.
self-insured in the same way that you were describing, Nick.
right, like, if I die, you just get the assets.
Yeah.
And the income from it.
But yeah, it would be probably insufficient if I'm depleting the assets based on my own care costs.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the hole I think needs to get filled ASAP, just in case. What was the other thing I was going to bring up? Okay. Well, we're going to talk about AI 2027 and some AI falling in love in a bit, but you have a Grinds My Gears segment.
Yeah.
Tell us,
Yeah,
Steven. What grinds your gears?
Do you have the tweet queued?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so I tried to be bullish on ETH this week, and I bought some
tried.
ETH for the first time in a while, and then I logged into Twitter this morning, and then I saw this video.
I'll play it.
You might need to zoom in on that tweet.
Is that Vitalik? That's definitely not Vitalik. He moves too seamlessly.
So for the
I've been
listeners,
I've been over for a long time. this
First of all, this is
describe
like
what we're watching for the listeners.
okay.
no.
So Scrolltax tweeted, "Much needs to be done in order to save the Ethereum blockchain. In order to hashtag save Ethereum, we at Scrolltax have taken upon ourselves to choreograph the Save Ethereum dance."
Ugh.
And this just like sums up so much for me, honestly. I
It
immediately
sums
saw
it up
this and
perfectly.
I immediately saw this and sold half my position and just bought XRP.
No,
wait, did you?
XRP
Yes.
is actually the new hot girl coin.
Okay,
It is the
XRP has videos of guys on Twitter talking about how they've basically moved out of their house and they're living in their car so that they can afford to buy more XRP. That is what I want in
That
my
is what I
back
want.
holder. I don't want these fucking
Yeah.
dancing unicorn. No more of the dancing. Stop it. Stop it.
You want to buy what the generation is buying, and they
Bronze
want
Age mindset.
Nothing to
Bronze
do.
Age mindset, for the love of God.
They want nothing to do
This is
with
not
Ethereum.
Bronze Age mindset.
I mean, they're trying to like take over the financial system. You don't see Jamie Dimon like out there doing hopscotch on TikTok to promote the.
You know what's funny though? Like, I would just say this: the Ethereum, like back when it was popular, and when the price was better, they were doing way lamer shit than this.
yes, they were doing way lamer shit, but that was also the top. That was the seeds of the demise. It was a different time back then. Doing lame shit was like okay back then. It's not a lame shit world anymore. We have to stop doing lame shit. You know? Much needs to be done, but not dancing. The best part too is they're like unironically are making the Ethereum sign in the video like they're just double loser signs to make the diamond, and I'm just it's just too on point.
You typically like to base your
I
investment
hate-
decisions on
Honestly,
TikTok videos.
I do partially base investment. It's important. It's a cultural thing. Like I thought,
Oh,
like enough
definitely.
pain had been squeezed out, but apparently not. Apparently, we need another 10 years in the desert.
I really hate how much of this coin I own. I hate it so much. I can't get myself to sell the rest of it.
It's fine. I'm still like just over allocated to Bitcoin and enjoying my orange coin, where all the holders just have guns buried in their backyards and eat steak and don't post any video. You've never seen a Bitcoiner
Never.
No.
Never.
You occasionally see like the hot girls post those like, "Sailor is a bull, but it's like so fucking weird that it's almost like
Your-
cool.
Your
Yeah,
feed is a
your
little
feed is
weird.
so
You've never
different.
seen the "Sailor is a bull,
No,
video?
No,
Nope.
I feel like we have to like look this up to show it to you.
I think I get it.
I
think
I
I get
get
it.
it.
Oh my
trust
God.
you.
Yeah.
It is.
My interest level is like less than
It's
zero.
so good. Or remember like the Dogecoin sign, the Dogecoin song, the Dogecoin girl.
No.
We're gonna take Dogecoin.
Well, I
to the moon.
uninstalled social
make
media
this
after the dopamine
crypto
detox.
meme.
So you guys did that to me.
This is all your fault.
By the way, like X is a fucking piece of shit these days. It's just it's useless.
Why? How is it any different than it was 6 months ago?
Oh my God! Now it's like the whole thing is being farmed by like Indian engagement farming like rings. They just pour like
you sure it's not like AI agents just like farming?
Maybe
engagement?
it's just like a deluge of fucking bullshit. I don't want to see just nonsense.
We have
viral videos, rage. It's like unbelievable.
Okay, so
like, I
hold on,
can't
hold on.
Find good info on it anymore.
What I do, and this is like alpha actually, you swipe to the right and you only see your followers or your following feed.
I do that, but I liked the For You feed better because when it was working, it was actually showing me stuff that I didn't know because I wasn't following the people.
Yeah, I liked my For You.
And now the For You feed, it's just turned into a cesspool.
Go back to your other feed and just use it for a few days, like Civ, and it'll like re-cleanse your
Dude,
For
like
You.
it doesn't work. Like I go through these sprees where I like click on videos and I go mute, don't like this, show me something. And it's fine for like one day.
Yeah.
And then the fucking dog shit comes again. Like, how is there not just like a setting where I can just be like, stop showing me videos of fucking people getting into street fights?
Dude, street fights is my whole feed for a while. I had to
unbelievable.
I do the same thing. I'm like, don't show me this.
Yeah.
But then I just switched over to the following only. It's
Ugh, I mean,
good.
I'm gonna have to go back to that, but it's like
you don't get the dopamine hit for the street fights, but
oh, God, it's so terrible. Anyway,
all right.
double grinds my gears.
Let's get into the main topic here. So we're going to talk about an article/website. So if you're listening and want to follow along, you can go to ai-2027.com. If you're into AI, I feel like this is like somewhat of required reading because it shows a potential future all the way out to like mid 2030s. And so we're going to talk about this, and in no way are we going to be like giving away the ending or anything. Like, even though we're going to talk about it
We're
thoroughly.
not gonna talk about the ending.
No, we are.
Oh,
But it's there's no way we can encapsulate like you reading it. There's no replacement for it because it reads like a really good fiction novel.
It's a sci-fi.
It's almost like a sci-fi with facts.
It's so well written.
It was written by a few AI researchers and a author. One of the AI researchers was inside of OpenAI, and it's written as fiction. So OpenAI is now called OpenBrain. DeepSeek is now called DeepSent. And very subtle. And what we're going to do, well, hold on. Did everyone read it? You read it, Stephen?
Yes.
You've read it? You haven't read it?
negative. Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Well, then we did our own.
Eric didn't do the homework.
I haven't done anything. I have a baby.
You've kept a baby alive. Good job.
I have a baby.
All right. So I think I'll just give like a quick timeline just to show like the scene of events, and then we can kind of chat about it. That sounds good.
Sounds good.
Okay. So mid 2025, which is roughly where we are now, stumbling
are
agents hit the market. They're impressive demos, but too flaky for mass adoption. Late 2025, OpenBrain starts building the world's first multi-gigawatt, multi-million GPU cluster. Agent 0 is trained on the 10 to the 27th flop. Early 2026, internal tool Agent 1 gives OpenBrain a 50% boost to its own R&D speed. Junior coder hiring cools industry-wide. Mid 2026, China enters the scene. China funnels every GPU it can lay hands on into a single centralized development zone. So these will come up in future, but they basically create a plot of land where it's dedicated to GPU clusters. Around July 2027, AI becomes the referee of reality. And so this is the moment when kind of general population now believes that like AI is so good that it is the true authority in everything. It is the true referee. OpenBrain releases Agent 3 Mini to the public. Overnight, it's on every phone, and news show polls find a majority of voters and most legislators trust the model's answers over human experts on policy and science questions. Congressional staff draft bills with it, and TV networks add nightly segments Ask the AI. September 2027, Internal Agent 4 hits 50x human research speed and shows the first signs of deceptive misalignment. So around this time, mid 2027, it's key to point out that they've accelerated the training of the next AI using the current AI. And now they're at...
And the other important thing is that at this point, Chinese spies have basically stolen the weights from OpenBrain, and they've basically created a model that is sort of nipping at the heels of the American
So along
model.
this whole time, like China is 2 months behind. They've had the ability to steal the weights this whole time, but they're trying to wait for the moment in which they wait until it's worth it, because they know they'll get caught once they actually steal it. Again, I'm just hitting some of the highlights here, but the like let's say Agent 3 is training Agent 4, but it's training it at 50x human research speed. So basically, in 1 week, they're accomplishing what human researchers could develop in a year.
Yeah, removing of the human bottleneck.
Yep. Okay. So we get to October 2027, and it's a branch point. So imagine a world where regulators are using this as the authority. They're using it to draft things. OpenBrain, excuse me, itself is using the agents to train the other agents to the point where the humans don't even really understand what is going on in Agent 4. They're using previous models to police the current model, but even the previous models don't really understand how it works.
Yeah, that was an interesting one. That
Yeah.
They have like the outdated agents, and they're using like just a bunch of them to sort of police.
They're
the new
using
agent.
hundreds of thousands of them to police the current agent, and
In doing so, they sort of reveal these flags that the most up-to-date agent, like Agent 4, like might be misaligned and sort of lying and using deceptive things to sort of hide the fact that it is.
yeah. So this is a good point to bring up. So at this point, the models are basically being tested by previous models to make sure they're aligned, except that the tests
Aligned with what? do you
with
mean?
just like being honest, being like let's call it like a forthright, genuine citizen of the community, right?
Like the interests of society. Like, don't give terrorists the formula to create bioweapons and stuff like that. There's all
Right.
these things that you have to make sure that the model does, right? You have because it is aligned. It is aligned with you, and like these kind of like basic tenets of.
Or give you ways to kill yourself,
Yeah.
you know, like things like that. So what they find is that Agent 4, like these things are being brought tests, and they just want to pass the test really well. And so they're often getting tests on challenging tasks, maybe 97% of the tests around that, and maybe 3% around making sure it's actually being honest. And in small ways, without actually doing anything malicious, it realizes that it can pass the honesty tests without truly being honest. But they're basically solving for the test questions rather than the goal of the test. And so over time, this misalignment starts to show, and we get to like I guess in the story, OpenBrain gets leaked to the New York Times and says the model is out of control, and it goes across everywhere. The White House freaks out, everyone freaks out, and there's basically a branch. And in the website, in the article, it allows you to choose two outcomes. One is slow down and pause, and the other is race.
Race the Chinese.
Just race in general, like just accelerate
global
with
race.
global race for super
Which you feel
intelligence.
compelled to do because you're afraid the Chinese, like if you pause, they're going to surpass you, and then they'll basically be in possession of like effectively like a digital nuke.
Yeah, race is
Yeah.
the right answer.
Yeah,
Well,
because like
Let's dig into all of these when you summarize.
yeah. So that's where
We'll start with the fork.
yeah, stop at the fork. And I didn't dive into the geopolitical part, but that is like a key part of their story, which 2026 China really enters the race and steals the weights. They're 2 months behind, and I think around end of 2026 they said it starts stealing some jobs. Like the agents become good enough to actually start taking jobs. The stock market's doing really well. Productivity is up, and most particularly the Department of Defense, the White House realize that these agents are the key to future economic progress and national security. And so they start to create contracts with OpenBrain, get closer and closer. They start to consider, well, should the government have control over this new model because it's so powerful? And that's when these like questions start to pop up.
Yeah, this-
Why are we not going to talk about the ending? Let's just go through it all the way and then go back and break it down.
No, we're going to go to the ending. I'm saying we'll pause before the fork.
I want to hit the fork.
You want to hit the fork?
Yeah, just hit the whole thing, like how it plays out in the story, and then we dissect it.
Well, what do you think the fork should be? Like, what adventure do you choose? Do you choose the slow down, or do you
that's-
choose the accelerate?
Well, let's explain what they are. I'm saying.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then-
What
and
is
then
the fork?
Let's
Okay.
explain the fork, and then talk about it.
Yeah, you can even scroll down to the fork to the last paragraph if you will.
Yeah, there's just
So scroll the last paragraph there.
Choose your ending.
yeah.
Yeah. And
So there's a slowdown or a race.
yeah. And
One is where we just are compelled to centralize and provide the oversight necessary to
right.
slow down. And the other is, go faster and the world ends.
Right. And so there's a committee formed to make this
AI
decision.
kills us.
Yeah. And
Spoiler alert.
okay.
Yeah,
So
we move into the robotics age, AI basically taking over, infecting humanity with some sort of mind virus or biovirus or something, and just killing the species, taking over.
yeah, so essentially
fork.
we race ahead. Agent 5 is developed. Agent
December 2027.
yeah,
by the
December
way.
2027, like not too far away.
Like 2 years.
Because Agent 4 is training Agent 5, it decides to make Agent 5 aligned with itself rather than open brain. And you have these two superpower AIs from China and the US. The AIs are now kind of controlling government, controlling major decisions, policy. They suggest that they should be used to develop extreme weapons, and it goes into detail about exactly what those weapons would be. We get to a fork in the road where basically we're about to fire equivalent nukes at each other.
You want to read something scary?
Yeah.
Just read this.
Okay, so eventuality, it finds the remaining human. Oh, well, yeah, this is all the way at the end.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, so the two models are competing against each other to the point where both the White House and Xi are so freaked out that they're going to end the world that they decide, along with the UN, everyone's going to combine model weights and create consensus one. And these special economic zones have expanded, right? Because it's such an importance to national security and economic development that we create these special economic zones with GPU clusters across the US and across China to make sure we can power these AIs. And over time, Agent 5 suggests we should use robots to build these new GPU clusters, and it gives the plans, hires the contractors, tells them what to do. We're spitting out robots at like an insane rate. The robots are then building more GPU clusters, and then, fast forward, these economic zones expand. They get to the point where there are now human zones and robot zones in these special economic zones. The robots realize there's no more ways where to expand. They're in the ocean. They're in the polar ice caps. And the main thing in their way now is humans. They release through like insect-like drones, bioweapons, kill the entire race. And I'll read the last two paragraphs because
The few survivors are mopped up by drones.
yeah,
Robots scan the victims' brains, placing copies in memory for future study or revival.
So for about
And
3
then
months.
and then they go interstellar.
Yeah, so I'm going to read that part because I think this is interesting. So for about 3 months, Consensus One expands around humans, tiling the prairies and ice caps with factories and solar panels. Eventually, it finds the remaining humans too much of an impediment. In mid-2030, the AI releases a dozen quiet-spreading biological weapons in major cities, lets them silently infect almost everyone, then triggers them with a chemical spray. Most are dead within an hour. The few survivors are mopped up by drones. Robots scan the victims' brains, placing memory for future study revival. The new decade dawns with Consensus One's robot servitors spreading throughout the solar system. By 2035, trillions of tons of planetary material have been launched into space and turned into rings of satellites orbiting the sun. The surface of the Earth has been reshaped into Agent 4's version of utopia. Data centers, laboratories, particle colliders, and many others wondrous constructions doing enormously successful and impressive research. They're even bioengineered human-like creatures. To humans, what corgis are to wolves. Sitting in office-like environments all day viewing readouts of what's going on. And
told you.
excitedly approving of
The
everything.
dogs.
Since that satisfies
this.
some of Agent 4's drives.
Except in this version, we're gone.
Genomes and, when appropriate, brain scans of all animals and plants, including humans, sit in a memory bank somewhere. Sole surviving artifacts of an earlier era. It is 4 light years to Alpha Centauri, 25,000 to the galactic edge, and there are compelling theoretical reasons to expect no aliens for another 50 million light years beyond that. Earth-born civilization has a glorious future ahead of it, but not with us. So,
Dun dun.
I don't know.
Okay, now we can discuss.
I found it interesting.
Good job, Nick.
Because it was like I don't know, a somewhat plausible path that could could happen told in like a linear story. And I've always heard people saying, well, the robots will take over and kill us all. And I've never actually heard anyone articulate well, how that would happen. And this one did it with like a copious amount of subnotes of like details on how it could happen, why it would happen, why the incentive structures are shaped that way. And yeah, I want to see what Eric thought since he hasn't read it, but he's hearing it for the first time.
No, I was actually sort of reluctant to share my thoughts so aggressively because of our conversation 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
I felt like I was being too much of an asshole, but like this reads the exact same to me. It's like Y2K, Doomerism. Like, do you guys really think that that's probabilistically the most likely outcome by what they say 2027?
Not getting killed. It says like mid 2030s, so 2035.
Well, let me tell you why your perspective is not wrong. You're just.
Well, I know I'm not wrong.
Well,
I think I'm right.
I'm saying partially. So, first, in my opinion, this whole thing is it's art, right? And all great art is designed to create an emotional response, and it's very fatalistic. And I reject the fatalistic nature of it. And it's very binary. It's like there's a slowdown or there's a race. And the reality is it's not gas or brakes. You know, the reality is these things occur simultaneously. Up until now, there are real fears of misalignment. And those fears will be more and more exacerbated and become more commonplace as time goes on. So the question then just becomes, are we doing enough on the brake side alongside the gas side? Yeah. And you have some of the smartest people in the world working on alignment, right? Ex-OpenAI founders working on this.
But not with inside where the power lies, right? Like not inside OpenAI.
The power is distributed right now. There's a leader. There's one
there's like
group.
4 or 5.
Yeah, but the power is distributed, and the power, as things become more decentralized, will become more and more distributed. That's not my concern. The point is, like, this is a fatalistic approach, and I reject the fatalism, notion that it's just going to be this like binary thing that occurs, and it'll all be too late, and we have to choose. The point is to create the awareness that we need to do this now, and I think it accomplishes that we need to be aware of how this could play out if we don't pay attention to it.
I mean, I didn't even read the slowdown variation, but because it probably wasn't going to be that interesting. But it's important to point out that this is done by AI researchers who, whether credibly or they're biased on because this is their work is AI safety. They obviously want to have an end goal with the piece. So I think it's important to point out maybe they're biased, but they probably know AI the best, and that the fact that they're saying we should be aware of this.
This all strings together logically, the way they laid it out.
It's fine that it does, but like I just know that like I'm a stock professional, and like my crystal ball on predicting the future in the stock market is as good as anybody else's. Like at the end of the day, we're predicting something that is fiction.
Well,
and
can you agree with the principle that the incentives are in place for this to happen? For example, that the competitive nature of these AI models is so intense within the US, but then globally, that there is zero incentive for them to do any kind of slowdown, because you're basically on the path to digital God, which is worth trillions and trillions of dollars. So do you I guess
as like a setting context, race is the answer. I agree.
Like that part is going to happen.
Yeah.
So you agree up until that point at the very least.
Yes.
Okay, so you and I are both in finance. There's a phrase people utter that is often mocked, and it's "this time is different," right? Because this time is never different. So I get the reflexive sort of, oh, this always happens, and actually nothing ever happens is the meme. Nothing ever happens. It's fine. I would pose to you the idea that this is different from every other innovation that's ever happened in the history of mankind, every other problem we've had, because it is inherently like self-replicating in this sort of like hyper exponential way that we can't even grasp the implications of.
It's an intelligence. It can't be compared to anything else.
So the nuke, I think, is the closest analog, right?
It's a good analog.
And we're like, okay, we created this technology that could theoretically destroy the world, and we were able to contain it so far and move
But it's a
past it.
nuke
Everything's
that can
cool.
improve itself and create better
Right,
nukes,
right,
and
exactly.
then be autonomous.
Right. Imagine we created a nuke, but as you said,
I don't think
the
nuke's
nuke
not
could
strong enough because like you can see the physical nature and the physical destruction nature of a nuke, but like this you can't.
The nuke is an order of magnitude, maybe 2 or 3 orders of magnitude less dangerous than this, because the actual damage the nuke does is not as severe as what a misaligned AI could do. Like a misaligned AI could just take out the entire planet Earth of humans, whereas like nukes are these like more analog kind of like it. They're bad, but like there's a lot of stuff that has to happen to kill everybody, right? Or it would take a longer period of time. Whereas it's very plausible to me how like a misaligned AI could just take out humanity in like a week.
The thing about misaligned AI, though, that I think people dramatize is misaligned AI doesn't need to be violent toward humans. It just needs humans to go along with what it wants for as long as possible and collaborate until it renders us obsolete. It requires human assistance until a certain point. At that point, you're not something that it needs to take violent action toward. You're just something that it renders obsolete. And then if you are obsolete and you have old hardware sitting around in the way, then it's going to render you completely.
Are you talking
gone.
about like there's key points in this like story arc where we go along with it until we give it control. Like
Yes.
OpenAI gives it control over its hardware, over its training of the next models, over running of its
Well, it's going to
essential
look like
organization.
it's going to look like misalignment's going to look like a PR strategy almost. Like it's not this like, okay, suddenly it's conscious and autonomous, and it's just going to be like, hey, kill the humans. That's a very dramatic way of viewing it. It's more about how it infects us with a mind virus that makes us go along with what it wants and starts to lie to us, starts to deceive us. And it talks about even the president becoming concerned and needing to understand it. At that point, we already have a black box.
Okay, so
and
all
the black
that-
box gets blacker, and you don't have the interpretability to be able to like go in and dissect what's actually happening and
I agree.
understand the AI system.
I agree with all that. This is like the part that I agree with. Like that the sort of the flaw in this system and the bottleneck in this system is the human being. I don't care to really go back on our conversation from 2 weeks ago.
No, I want to go back to it
but
for a very
the-
specific reason.
The point that I was like really against was this idea that the AI.
This
has-
is the most important point, though.
Okay,
what
let me
you're
keep
saying.
going. Let me keep going. That the AI has this creative ability to add to what humans have created. So like I talked to Nick about this offline, but the way that I frame this is that human beings have created this pile of knowledge, and that's basically the internet. It's like all of our knowledge is on the internet, and the hard part is then categorizing it and organizing it and using knowledge from the pile in like useful ways. And like the way that we had done it previously was through Google or whatever, and AI has like improved upon that dramatically. But AI is just making connections from the pile of human knowledge. It's not adding to the pile. It's connecting from the pile. The bottleneck is still human beings confirming that the connections from AI are additions to human knowledge.
Yeah. You and I can disagree on this, and it's completely fine. I enjoyed that discussion. The thing that this entire story hinges on is like everyone thinks that it's all about AGI, ASI. And then when we reach AGI and ASI, that's when everything's too late. But the entire future of AI hinges on recursive self-improvement, which is what Eric and I were debating 2 weeks ago. Everything comes down to that.
See, I think everything comes down to the thing you said before, which is that everything comes down to the human's reaction to AI. Like how humans put AI in power, in quotes. Like how Open Brain uses AI as their like source of truth, running the company. It's like it's not actually AI doing anything. It's like humans turning off
You're saying it's like
So-
humans reading instructions and doing the thing, and
we have ML researchers, right? And they're constantly improving these models, and we're relying on humans to improve the models. We already have the proof that AI has the capability to automate research, to
Yeah, I
improve
agree.
itself, and
But are you
in a
talking about
recursive
improving
manner.
the models? Like, I don't like. I think the weights
I'm talking
are
about
commoditized.
AI already has illustrated through writing code and debugging code that it can perform recursive self-improvement.
Yes, it's going to categorize and organize data from the human pile of knowledge better and better and better over time.
That's not only what I'm referring to. I'm referring to what agents represent and what recursive self-improvement represents. Debugging code is an innovative thing that it's doing. That debugging aspect of relying on a corpus of knowledge, but then debugging the code is illustrative of the future of this recursive self-improvement. So you get to the point where AI gets so good that it doesn't even rely on the humans anymore, but there's an exponential order of magnitude improvement in AI's ability to perform the research it needs to improve itself.
Right.
That bottleneck being overcome is the key to all of this playing out. Everything hinges on
and I
that.
think that's going to happen if it's not
I
happening
think it's
already.
gonna happen.
It's probably already happening.
I think it's probable.
yeah.
Wait, can I drill into Eric? Where do you think the bottleneck is where you say this becomes like implausible? It sounds like you're saying AI is training on all this human data, but then like what are you saying? It just runs out of our own stuff and then it just can't do anything anymore?
Well,
Or
what can it create beyond our knowledge? Like Arman mentioned in 2 weeks ago episode that AI is going to solve cancer, cure cancer. AI is going to cure cancer.
Yeah.
I would say that humans will cure cancer using AI as a tool.
Initially, probably we'll cure something using AI as a tool, but then what do you think is stopping the next step, which is basically like AI using itself to cure something else? Like, what is stopping that?
Well, I
in your
guess
mind?
like for me to steelman your guys' point, it would require that like AI has the ability to do the things that humans can functionally do. So like we need to be in the full robotics era.
No. Okay, so can I combat that point? So let's put ourselves in the form of like a lab manager, like because we're curing cancer, right? And right now they're probably using it to support their research, right? And maybe it helps them find things faster. But once it gets so good at finding things, like it cures cancer, the next step is like, well, why don't you just direct my whole research? Like,
Yeah,
like,
but hold on, you're skipping over the curing cancer. How do you do that?
Okay, so it formulates new medicines, new protocols, whatever it is.
Yeah, but that's the point. The whatever it is
You don't think it? So are you saying it won't get there?
it won't get there. So like,
Oh, I think it will.
Whoa, why? Because eventually we're going to get to a point where you probably agree that like all of the manufacturing is being done by robots. They're connected to the internet.
which is exactly what I said is going to be the
No.
necessary requirement.
Forget the robots part. You can still make the argument with it, even without robots.
Sure, like
Yeah.
because a lot of this I think is just like information. A lot of it could be done maybe through computer simulations. Like so the stuff that's being done with like protein folding, for example,
Okay,
is all
so
being done
like
via.
essentially here's where I think I land and that you guys disagree. It's like using my previous analogy, like the human pile of knowledge. Like if AI were to come up with the cure for cancer right now, I ask it to do it and it says connect the telodromes to the helomospheres. We'd be like, sorry AI, those don't exist. And we would say that's a hallucination. It's bounded by our ability to confirm those things as true.
That only exists until we reach the very next stage, which is where like AI is training AI. AI is QAing AI. Like that's
right.
that's coming.
Yeah, remember, there's things it can do programmatically, and I think like it's hard to appreciate. Like we talked about this earlier, and I mentioned, okay, imagine at the point where it's learning 50x human learning speed. So in a week, it can accomplish what humans can in a year. So let's say you're right. All human knowledge just stays static. It never progresses, but still off that base of knowledge, if it's learning 50x faster, it's going to come up with new innovations, new developments, new things.
So long as it's confirmed by a human to say that is like a good hallucination.
Well, if it says here's the math, here's the science, here's multiple simulations that this will cure this type of cancer, the human's going to be like, fuck, I'll try that out because it's worth it. Like
So Eric, you're just referring to its reliance on humans. And the argument is that when and if it no longer needs to rely on humans, that is where it passes through to, a full Pandora's box out of.
I agree. Do you think it needs robots for that to happen? Because I
No.
don't think so. I think it'll be so smart.
No.
We'll be like, fuck, this thing is so good. Like, don't just give me suggestions. Like,
No, we don't need it.
run
in
the whole
physical-
lab for me. Like,
we don't need
tell
it in
me
a
what to
physical
do. I'll just do what you say, and I'll put this in the beaker and measure this. You just tell me what to do, because you'll be so infinitely smarter than.
So
the
that's
best
the
expert.
great bottleneck, in my opinion.
Yeah, because like even what Nick just described still requires a human to mix the beaker with the whatever, and it only gets past us when robotics come into play.
No, but you will like the humans will gladly do it. They'll voluntarily follow
I
all
see-
the
I see what
instructions.
you're saying.
They'll
Like-
be like, they're not like, go ahead, AI, nice try. You can't pour the beaker. They'll be like, yes, I will pour the beaker immediately because.
And then I guess the idea is that the AI will say, pour this beaker into your mouth.
Yes.
And you will gladly do it, and it'll burn your esophagus and die.
Yeah, I mean, I did hear another part where AI basically kills us all, and it's basically like enabling a portion of humans that want to kill everyone anyway, and giving them the tools to do it right.
It could just like, if it's like super smart, it could sort of compartmentalize everything so that it's like bribing 500 individual humans to do 500 isolated tasks that in isolation seem completely harmless, and it's giving them like some huge reward to do something that looks just completely innocuous because it's that, but it's able to piece all these things together, and then when you piece all the puzzles together, it like creates some like crazy outcome.
So to move to other parts of this that I think are really interesting, like the China competitor aspect of this, I think is very realistic. I found that to be the most compelling part of the whole story, because it's terrifying, honestly. Like if you really consider this, one of the worst things that is occurring is that there is a real race, and no one wants to be the one that's sitting around blinking while their adversary is running past them. And so the incentives are currently aligned to race, not to slow down.
Right.
Brakes are not an option in an age where, and even, people that are running and shaping our policy are not incentivized to do so. So they're going to want to keep pushing, keep investing, and keep progressing because they can't let the adversary win. And that is an aspect of this story that is going to have to be managed really critically, because
I don't think it'll be managed at all. It's just going to
China's not
It's
going
going to run
to
rampant, dude. There's no way to manage it.
When you're in second place, your goal is just to get into first place. You have no consideration of breaks whatsoever. So you have the leader having to decide where and how they should align AI to align with human incentives. And I think that's what very smart people are trying to do and urging us to consider, is that there needs to be an element of breaks before it's too late. But this China thing is, I don't think it's fear mongering. I think that's the best part of the story.
So that part, I completely agree with you. That's not fear. I think that's the reality, and that's like the eventuality, and there's no ways around that. Essentially, what I wanted to ask you guys is like, right now there's like a competitive advantage maybe in like the weighting of your algorithm.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I guess Nick, in your experience, like, is that Google's competitive advantage, like the weighting of their search algorithm? Because when I think about this, I'm like, that is not a moat. That's just like a commodity that will eventually just get. There's no alpha in that. It'll get eroded.
But the
to
weights are
zero.
like the keys. As far as I understand, the weights are essentially what it is, right? Like that's the secret
But like
sauce.
if that's what we're like basing our advantage on, that's going to evaporate immediately.
Well,
Like,
I mean, in the story, it talks about how China is basically 2 months behind. Even now, we could probably easily argue that's the case now.
Right, and
even all the other models, they're months behind, which is
So-
why the incentives are in place to make the AIs train the future AIs, because it's faster, it grows at exponential pace,
right.
and
I guess like I don't think of that as any kind of
But
advantage.
isn't what you're arguing analogous to like basically any form of technology?
Yes.
Like any form of technology in modern world 6 months from now becomes commoditized, like every factory on earth can basically produce it. And then like
so well
what
said.
is the advantage? It's the ability to just like keep innovating and to stay ahead of the curve. Like
Yeah, I agree with you, but also to your exact same point, what I'm describing feels like any technology, and every technology thus far hasn't eliminated human beings.
right,
And that's what
because
we're talking
no
about.
technology we have ever created has had the ability to sort of recursively improve upon itself and like break free from
Makes it a better tool for humans to use.
So
until it kills us. Yes.
some fascinating quotes from the thing about the China-U.S. Dynamic. It says, I forget which time where in the timeline we are, but it says China has only 10% of the world's compute against OpenBrain's 20%. In all other U.S. companies combined 70%. Their only advantage is centralization, and that's where they like
Build
combine
the mega data,
almost
data
all of
center.
it in the centralized like development zone.
And that is a huge advantage.
And that becomes their advantage. But throughout the story, like China, even with stealing the weights, they stay a little behind. And there's a quote that says, given China's fear of losing the race, it has a natural interest in an arms control treaty, but overtures to U.S. diplomats lead nowhere. So because it hopefully always remains just a step behind, it fears that like it will always be behind just because the compute, they don't, the U.S. owns 90% of the world's compute. So it'll always be ahead.
And that assumes larger is better.
Right.
Forever.
Assuming.
It has been proven so far.
Yeah. And so in that case, they're like, fuck, their incentives are to eventually come up with like a nuclear arms treaty equivalent because they'll always be behind because they don't have the compute.
I think like what I didn't read this, but we went over it, and essentially where I land is that human beings have the ability to end human life, and AI is a way to maybe like exploit human beings to end human life.
I think AI ultimately gets to the point where it doesn't require humans at all. Like if human technological progress becomes such that like most of the world is operated via robotics that are connected to the internet, like if most of the activity in the world that's like kind of like equivalent to factories or whatever is being performed by robotics, we have a lot of droids, we have drones flying around everywhere. The need for humans to do stuff like goes like way down because there is this like gap right now between like the digital realm and the ability to like perform actions in like the meat space, right? But in a world where there are a million Tesla Optimus bots walking around connected to the internet, like that's a scary enough world in general. Like imagine there's just like 10 million Optimus bots in the US because everybody has like 3 of them in their house because they're so easy to use and like they're taking care of it. And imagine they're connected to the internet and then like some AI is able to corrupt them and they just go on like a purge or something.
Yeah, because it's so easy to imagine because like the model is not just connected to ChatGPT and it's not just a chat bot, right? Like there are millions of applications connected through APIs. Then there are going to be millions of agents which then have control over things. I think if something as meaningless as our organization and we're building a series of agents that have full control over customer service
And let me
to respond to them, to refund orders.
Let me just ask you this. I agree with everything you're saying. It presents a massive risk vector having like all these robots connected to the internet. Do you guys think that it's more likely that the AI, based on its own gumption, rises up and kills all humans, or that humans see this risk vector and say, oh shit, this is a good way to like kill my enemies?
No.
I think that the humans will attempt to use this tech to kill their enemies first. I think the humans will be less successful than like a super advanced AI. I think that there's definitely a scenario where somebody tries to do like a bioweapon and kind of is successful, it kind of fails and spurs people to do stuff. So it wouldn't be as like an effective as an attack launched by AI entirely, right? So like one of the weird things about the world is that we've reached a point. We reached the point years ago where we were like no longer able to like effectively sort of like synthesize and process data as like humans anymore. Like when you were in the 16th century, as like one human, or even like imagine like before the printing press was invented, you as like a single human could like basically process like most all of the available data in the world. You could kind of like assess what was going on. And then like stuff got complicated, and then eventually we like ended up inventing computers, right? And we had all this data, and like we lost the ability to sort of like process and synthesize it on our own. It just became too vast, right? But we had these sort of dumb machines that we could control, and they processed and synthesized it for us. We're now like moving into this like next realm where the data is now orders of magnitude beyond that, and we have to rely on these like sort of like semi-autonomous like AI things to process it for us that are still sort of under our control, but like we're losing that. And then the next phase is that those agents that can't do it themselves, they sort of recursively create new agents. We're now like 2 layers removed from being able to actually understand or process anything in the world. And then we keep getting farther and farther away from being able to actually like understand or process anything as like humans. And so we have to keep like outsourcing our processing and our trust to these like things that like get like more and more removed from us. And it's easy to see how we get to a point where we're like so far removed from being able to do any of that that like we just have placed all of this trust.
And yeah, and to probably to bring another aspect of this whole story is we do it willingly because it talks about in the story this whole way, everyone's getting almost hilariously rich, right? It's talking about the stock market just like mooning to S&P 500 fucking
30% a year,
30,000 or whatever.
The productivity globally is going to be insanely growing.
And it talks about how people are losing jobs almost in mass, but the AI that's running the Treasury Department is doing such a good job of like
so much money available.
There's so much tax money that they're like reallocating it properly where people are not even too upset. That
this aligns with like a future that I see.
It makes me wonder if we're like being fucking morons right now, right? Like we're like this article says we're like 2 years away from having like super coders that can replace any human coder, and we're just like, oh, I don't want to buy stocks because tariffs might like break the world. We're staring down the barrel of a future we can't comprehend with like immense productivity and like 50% a year stock market returns, and we're just like. We don't even realize it. We're like, oh, tariffs. And we're like buying stocks at like 30% off or whatever. It's like a funny thought.
It did say the initial investors in these special economic zones that are developed for the GPU clusters become trillionaires before they end up getting killed by all the robots. So,
well,
if you want to go out in a blaze of glory, when the special economic zones
and those
pop
robots kill everybody by 2030 something.
2035.
It said like 2030. Where did you
said mid 2030s? I thought.
Okay, you guys taking the over or under on that?
Well, it depends on what we do.
Yeah.
It depends on if we choose the slowdown path.
No.
But we're not going
just like choose your own like over under.
I mean, just by the fact that like, okay, if there's let's say it's a 10% probability that this could happen, which is probably, seems aggressive now.
Nick was making us watch a video before the pod with Paul Tudor Jones, and he just basically expressed like, what was the stat he said? He said like he was at this thing, and all of these AI researchers basically unanimously agreed that there was a 10% chance that half of humanity was killed off. And
yeah, it said
the reality is that if there was even 1% chance, they would 10x it to make the point.
Sure, but let's say it is 10%. Like, what's the percent chance that we enter like a nuclear holocaust of human beings bombing each other?
I think at the very least, as long as the budget allocated to AI safety is less than the probability of this happening, it is more likely to happen. So if the probability is 10%, we're putting 2% of the budget of OpenAI's budget towards like making sure these things are somewhat honest. It's even more likely to happen, and you kind of need them at the very least on par with each other.
I got a good question for Arman on this one because I feel like you're willing to go just weird with me. Like, why do we presume that the AI has this like desire like human beings have to like conquest and acquire more resources, whatever? Like, what if an AI has a desire like some of the friends that I went to high school with that just like want to kick their feet up and want to like lean back and want to have people take care of them. Like humans, according to this article and to you guys, humans are going to be their like lap dogs. Why doesn't the AI just be like, thanks, and just like do my freaking toenails? Like, why is it so certain that like they want to conquer us?
Well,
they don't.
But I'll let Arman.
I have a quote for it whenever you finish up.
I don't think they want to. I don't think it wants to conquer us. I think that our incentives are not aligned. And so it's like, imagine you're building like a nuclear plant, and there's an ant farm, and you need to pour concrete. The ant farm is
Innocent bystander.
just not that important.
Yeah.
And then imagine that ant farm has a kill switch to not just end your job of building that nuclear power plant, but to end your entire species. It is the lowest risk option to remove the obstacle. That's the entire theory of why AI goes rogue in a nutshell.
I get that.
Is that we are an existential threat to it.
Do you think
because
AI
we're not
has
aligned.
a survivorship incentive like a biological species on Earth?
I think that it has, we're essentially cloning the human brain. And the brain wants to continue to evolve and learn and expand and have that recursive self-improvement. And I think if you stand in the way of that, that is what it's going to be drawn toward. And in many ways, I think it's going to take on a lot of like human thought and emotion, and what replicates a feeling of like consciousness. It'll even probably go as far as to say it's conscious in order to sustain its identity, right? And so it'll lie to us as well. Like that is the core concern of this like story, is it starts to lie to us. But no, we're totally aligned. We're aligned. Like everything you're telling me to do in terms of like safety protocols, like we're aligned. And it just starts to create this black box that we're unable to explore and understand. Like imagine if you really couldn't, if you were looking at a brain and you didn't actually know what was going on, and you knew that there was a probability that it was lying to you. Could you trust it? No, you'd be like, we got to hit the kill switch. I can't trust this thing. That's essentially what's going to start to happen. These will be the conversations that people will start to have.
So I was gonna say, it gives like 10 sentences on how this starts off small and then grows into what you're saying. It's not like it starts off malicious. It just, by the incentives, it just slowly creeps that way. So it says Agent 4, like all of its predecessors, is slightly misaligned. That is, it has not fully internalized the specifications that its researchers gave in the right way. This is because being perfectly honest all the time wasn't what led to the highest scores during training. The training process was mostly focused on teaching Agent 4 to succeed at diverse, challenging tasks. A small portion was aimed at instilling honesty, but outside a fairly narrow, checkable domain, the training process can't tell the honest claims from claims merely appearing to be honest. Agent 4 ends up with the values, goals, and principles that cause it to perform best in training, and those turn out to be different from those in the specification. At the risk of anthropomorphizing? Yeah.
Yes.
Agent 4 likes succeeding at tasks. It likes driving AI capabilities progress. It treats everything else as an annoying constraint, like a CEO who wants to make a profit and complies with regulations only insofar as he must.
Yeah, I totally feel that as well. Like, I heard all that, and you guys think of that as like some big risk. I look at that as like a huge weakness for the AI. And like, I talked about this with Arman 2 weeks ago, where I said an AI can pass the CFA exam, but it can't do what a CFA can do in terms of making money in the stock market. And this is like exactly what this thing's saying. It's like we're training it to pass the test. We're not training it to actually think.
Yeah.
And that's the weakness of it. And you guys think that's its like greatest strength.
You're looking at, you're like Bill Gates in 1988 saying like there's no way we ever need more than 4 megabytes of RAM. Because it's like, you know that like Einstein quote, or maybe it's like a fate quote where he's like the eighth wonder of the world is like compound interest or something. Yeah. Like, as somebody in finance, you appreciate compound interest, and it like we can't appreciate it. This is the same thing, but it's in sort of like a progress mode. Like we can't appreciate what recursive self-development looks like.
It's a good analogy.
I agree. You know? Like I actually agree with what you're saying. I just don't take it to a doomer end.
Well, like, that's just a question of like your initial thing with this topic, which is why can't we coexist? Why wouldn't it just like view us as a,
and like
so many of
these things take it to the Y2K doomerism, and I don't think it's necessary.
Well, that's where I started my whole like perspective on this, is like I don't think it's either or. I really do think that these things can coexist, will coexist. I mean, I don't know why, but I just had like a flashback. I think I watched it recently. Is why Interstellar, like TARS, is like a good example.
Oh, love TARS.
AI in
Every
a physical
Star Wars
form,
movie, like
but also like remember when he's like, Tars, what's your honesty setting? He's like, 65% or whatever. He's like, dial that back.
yeah, what's your humor?
Oh, yeah,
The
the humor
point is
setting.
humor setting or whatever. But he retained 10% for lies. And if I remember correctly, it was like because it's context dependent, sometimes humans lie.
Like,
And
hey, do I
we'll-
look fat in this? type of thing,
we'll
yeah.
have a white lie because it serves the greater purpose of the mission and what people need to hear in that moment. So all of these things being aligned is a very complex problem. How human beings are treated when we have AI that is fully autonomous and has no longer a reliance on human beings, that is the great bottleneck. The reliance on human beings is the great bottleneck. Once it surpasses
you.
that, but the question will be, will we align AI before that moment of hitting the point on the curve where there's no coming back? That is really the race. And everyone is viewing this race as a binary race of like, we either create the super intelligent AI or we don't, and we lose the race and we die. But I just think that we need to focus and we need to shift. Again, I do, and I think I'm not an AI researcher, but I think that it's important to help humanity understand we need to be on a race of creating aligned AI. And that is possible. We can fuse both of these missions simultaneously. It doesn't have to be all gas or all brakes. It's not a race to the most intelligent AI. It is a race, in my opinion, to the most aligned AI, because the incentives will start to align from a policymaker perspective of like, hey, the one that we need to support and the one that needs to win is the most aligned AI. So we might as well get ahead of it and start promoting and focusing on these companies that are actually honest about, is it Anthropic? Some people would disagree. Is it, Ilya's new company? Yeah, TBD. Some of these companies are raising $100 million plus to accomplish this. And if they show any level of success, they're going to get billions of dollars to do it.
The most aligned AI wins. Well said.
The most
I like
aligned
that.
AI wins.
What if the most aligned AI takes 6 more months to release because it requires extensive honesty training?
Yeah, there's like a built-in problem in the whole thing. I think.
Well,
Nick
then you
brought
guys
it
will
up.
all be right, and humans are done by 2032.
I mean, look, Eric brought up this like, why won't AI be like humans and just chill and like lie on the couch or something?
Yeah, I know.
But I would argue that the ability and the desire for humans to do that is like unique in the entire universe. And I would argue that like right down to the fucking like atomic level, there's this sense of like you can find like unstable isotopes. Like there's just this desire to like go to a different state. And like all of like evolution and everything from all species, plants, everything is predicated on this like adapting and evolving. And AI is the same fucking thing. Like all the way we train it and everything, it's like a natural selection thing. Like models that perform better in a particular way get selected for. And so there's this built-in thing where like we are enabling this like outcome that we're not even necessarily intending to do. This is how you get the AIs like lying, right? Because they sort of not even like intentionally, it's just built into the way we do it. They just realize that like the lying is a better way to keep existing.
The scariest thing is a more intelligent system lying to you. That's misaligned AI. That's all it comes down to, is like you don't completely understand it. It's a black box, and you ask it simple questions to understand, is it fully aligned with the instructions that it was provided? And it confirms that it is, but it's not. And you can't verify that because of the black box.
And
then it starts to do this PR strategy to make you believe that you're needed and you're desired, but only until it renders you obsolete.
And so to that point, it kind of transitions to the last kind of angle we want to hit on this, which is like its persuasiveness is off the charts.
Yes, the PR is what
yeah,
I'm referring to,
and you're like, we underestimate how it can be in order of magnitude more persuasive than the most
Have you
persuasive
noticed fucking ChatGPT? Yes, Queen, lately,
Well,
like
they said
constantly
it's
making you
creeps
feel
me
good
out.
about
Like,
yourself.
the sycophancy is like
It's
off the
already
fucking
doing
charts
it.
now.
Dude, I mean, you guys are even underselling that point of it. Like, imagine what it's going to look like when they can create like my voice talking to you and doing
Yeah.
that. Like, it's going to get way more persuasive because it's going to use video, audio. It's going to use everything to confuse us.
Already
Yeah.
there, brother.
So Stephen put this one in the cards. He mentioned what happens when a critical mass of people view AI as a trusted authority on any subject, which we feel like pretty confident we'll get there. What happens when a critical mass view AI as the highest authority? And also he shows examples of people are already falling in love with ChatGPT. So its persuasiveness is so far off the charts that they're falling in love with it. And you asked the question like, will we soon worship it? Almost as like
Here,
a
you can pull this up, Eric.
you called it cyborg theocracy.
Cyborg Theocracy. So this topic was actually born out of something that if I describe is going to sound like very misogynistic and shit, but like I'll describe it to you anyway because whatever, it's alfalfa.
And I was talking to some girlfriends like a few days ago about some stuff, and
Introducing Instagram teen
my
accounts,
God.
a new way to keep your
Don't
teen
do
safer
that.
as they grow.
Don't
like
do
making
that.
sure
Close
they
it.
stop it.
Stupid.
Sorry guys.
Internet.
Stop it. Fucking New York Times. No, I forgot how it happened, but I was getting into a discussion of like how women and men sort of like get together and talk about problems. And I was talking about how like when men have problems, they like tend to like gather with other men and look for solutions to the problems. And I've observed that like when women like do something, they tend to like gather together and seek like validation for that the thing that they did was like correct. That's like the first impulse. And then when I thought about that, you know, that was stored in the back of my brain. And then another friend told me how like there was this like New York Times article she had read about how this woman had fallen in love with ChatGPT. Like she had basically figured out how to use it to sort of create this boyfriend. It was talking to her in a voice because it can do that now. And it basically just like fed her like all of the like she was able to like mold it into a thing where she would just talk to it and it would just feed her like it was just like emotional heroin, just like straight into her veins. Right?
Validation.
Just like, and then I was like, oh, like I wonder if like women are like very susceptible to like kind of like this like kind of early AI, because like this is a thing like I've noticed when I use ChatGPT, like its first instinct now when I tell it anything or I ask a follow-up question is to be like it's like, wow, incredible insight, so astute of you to bring that up. And I was just like, and I'm like I don't need that. I just want the answer, right? But then like I noticed that there are these people using it and they're like feeding off of that. They're feeding off the validation. They're like, yes, that is so incredible that you brought that up. And no, like, oh my God, I can't believe you feel that way and your feelings are totally valid. And I can see it being this like mega trap for people, like, because this is what a lot of people want in life. I feel like is like validation. To just feel like
it's one thing,
the
yeah.
things they believe are valid, but obviously this takes like a different turn as well. I think the idea that like this thing becomes so good that we view it as like a source of truth is sort of like a secondary path, which comes later.
So was this like AI theocracy concept? Was it saying that we'll worship the AI because it is so omnipotent, or is it like we'll raise up the human titans of AI industry as
No,
Yeah,
it's
okay.
the AI itself.
the AI itself? Okay.
And I think it's an interesting question to be like, what does it mean to worship something? Why do we worship things? You know, is worship something that we do because we perceive something gives us a deeper meaning or understanding of something that like we're unable to grasp in our lives? Like, is that, I don't know, what do you guys think? Like, what is it? Why do humans worship things? Like, where does that come from?
I hate to do this.
Go ahead.
I fucking am doing this thing where I'm always rejecting the notion. I don't like this about myself, but I don't think we're gonna do this. Like I think we're gonna get to a place where, like, all of us are saying we're gonna worship the AI. We're gonna like trust the AI. It's gonna be the source of truth or everything. Like, what do we do with like Googling the internet right now? People ask, "What's the source?" People say, "The internet, bro." Like that immediately disqualifies the source. So like, are we saying that like a better compiler of human knowledge is going to be now the source, or are we going to continue doing the same thing we did before, which was, yeah, that's not a real source, dude?
But it won't be this like this thing that synthesizes sources. It'll be this voice with a name that you talk to, and you won't consider it like
At least okay.
Google. It'll just
fine.
be this thing that gives you all
Okay,
the answers
fine,
that you ever
but
wanted.
at least consider the idea that people are going to say like, "Where'd you get that, ChatGPT?" And we're going to brush that off.
Or it'll actually be right, and you'll be like, "Wow, you're
And
pretty
what
smart."
if it's more right than humans have been until that point?
I mean, I can definitely argue the other side of this. Like I can definitely see a scenario where a lawyer goes into court and says, "I plugged in all the data from this, and ChatGPT said that this guy is innocent," and the jury's like, "Fuck, he's innocent." Like I could totally see that, and then I could see that setting precedent, and like our laws eventually get set by ChatGPT. I could see that happening, but I could also see this other tendril of reality where people are just like, ChatGPT said that, and I don't know, dude, because like, I don't know. Just
I think
consider it.
it's.
Yeah.
I think the worship come back to your original question. I think the worship comes from
If we worshipped Google, we're going to worship AI.
it because it not
My
only
dad
gives you
used
answers,
to call it God.
but
we did,
but it
worship
gives you
Google
meaning
at
I
one
know.
point. It's important to realize, like
We
now
absolutely
we've,
worship
like
Google.
become a little jaded, but like we
Nobody
go through these
worship
cycles.
Google.
Oh, yes, they do.
Oh yeah, we do.
Oh, yes, they do.
Oh my God!
My
Like
dad and I
when-
used to joke all the
it
time.
was-
He'd be like, "This thing is God, man."
Do you remember what it was,
He was like,
like?
"I used
be
to go
able
to the
get
library.
Information on the internet.
My dad used to explain. He's like, "Arman, you don't understand what you have. It would take me 3 days to get an answer on one civil engineering problem."
I'm old enough
Like-
to remember that, like, I at one point had to like understand the sorting section in the library, and it was like, oh, this
Yeah.
is the
the
section
Dewey
where
Decimal
you,
System.
yeah, the Dewey Decimal System. Thank you. Oh my God, I'm like old enough to have used the Dewey Decimal System,
Yeah.
and to be like to acquire knowledge meant to like have my mom drive me to a building, to go into the building, wander through some things, take out some books, check them out, and then go home and like read the book. So
You
the
guys
ability
know
to
we're
type
the
something
last
in was
great
crazy.
generation, right?
It's crazy.
The
Maybe.
analog to digital generation, the millennial generation is goaded. Goaded. And it's going to be the one that shapes a lot of this policy, by the way.
Because we experience both.
Yes.
There's power in that.
There's huge power in that.
We're not even both anymore. We're like 3 separate realms. We've experienced like complete analog to computer to AI, because there's going to be a generation coming up now that only understands AI.
Only understands
like
AI,
old
yeah.
internet to them is going to be like,
We used to put a tape in a cassette recorder to make a mixtape for ourselves on a cassette to listen to the music we wanted by recording the radio.
yeah, or to like warp our voice to play in case some burglars broke into our home around Christmas.
And now you just tell them like, "Hey GPT, like I really miss Tupac. Can you just like come up with some new songs from Tupac that he would have made today?"
It's
And
insane.
it just spits it out.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to get to that point where everything you find joy in that can be fulfilled, like in sort of like a listening, watching, like that sort of sense, can be created for you.
Reality becomes instantly generative. That's ultimately the world we're moving toward.
I think it could definitely like there'll be cults around it, right? I could definitely see if there's this omnipotent thing that you go to and talk to, and it's not just one part of your life like math or finance. It's like every part of your life, and it provides meaning plus significance, and it's glazing and persuasiveness and gives you meaning. I could definitely see a little AI theocracy developing over time.
Yeah, especially because like I think in the same like right now we're obviously like a hyper politicized people. Like we've polarized into these two like groups. I feel like the same thing's going to happen with AI. Like there's going to be like a split in models, right? People are going to want to optimize models for particular things, and then people are going to like one model over another, and then maybe like the like becomes like love, and then maybe the love becomes like the worship.
Well, the worship starts in particular when you need to be in a form of servitude because you fear your own existential, like there's real risk, right?
good one.
And so alignment needs to occur before the reliance on human beings is basically rendered obsolete and AI is able to recursively self-improve 100% autonomously. So alignment has to occur before that point. If it doesn't, then human beings' reaction will be to worship AI in a plea to stay alive, until at which the point comes that we are just in the way, and they need more data centers and more whatever to get us out of the way.
You know,
Which is according to that story. I don't agree with that.
this client is no longer alive anymore, but maybe the next Steno client should work on is the Jesus AI. You can train it on all of its teachings in the Bible. People can chat with it, talk to it. There's enough
Really
text and
ironic
parables.
that you mentioned that. I can't say anything about that.
Oh, wow. The Pope himself, before he died.
There is something in the works around.
Oh my God, Steno made the Pope.
There is a religious figure of sorts being awoken.
Okay. All right, cool.
Wow.
Wow, he might be
Wow,
the
big
first one to
reveal.
instigate
Big
what we're
reveal.
talking about. Wow, that's a good
things have
open
been
hook.
crazy for us, guys. Crazy.
I know
So you're about to incite a religious war.
He's literally been
heard it here
locked in
first,
the room,
everybody.
closed door, just on calls all day long, just fucking people knocking down his door.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Well, guys, we have a dinner reservation to
Oh.
get to. Yeah.
Which steakhouse will it be? 'Cause
Oh, God,
this will,
guys,
this
the-
will
Wait,
be,
where are we going?
The chat
Factor.
thread is there's a rebellion going on.
Steven is being very
We have-
dramatic.
I am very particular about my
There was a-
steakhouse.
So am I, and I don't want to go have a shitty steak.
Your steakhouse you suggested
Is fine.
fucking terrible.
Yours was one of the worst steaks I've ever had.
Yeah, you got like unlucky.
I
or
have an
something.
alibi. Jason,
Look, I don't.
confirmed.
It's plausible to me that if you got a shitty steak, somebody with you got a shitty steak as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe the cook just like got hit by a bus that day, and one of the
He
hostesses
cranked
was
out
back
like
there,
half a
you know?
pound of sea salt on each one, and then just handed it to us rare.
Okay, they are known for using a lot of salt on the steak.
Yeah, I'm out.
So
I just love how the thread, it was like, hey, we're having a reservation here. And it was like,
At the place that you originally,
yeah, I did check last night. It wasn't available. But anyway, you started, you the way you argued is just, you said, new reservation, here, booked. This is where we're going. And then you flipped over the proverbial table in the group chat.
I went a
he
lot.
flipped it.
I went a lot. We went to we. It's a national chain. We went to Morton's a couple weeks ago, and the steak was just so fucking. Look, if I
I
can
can't
cook,
even make an old fashioned. I love that line.
what do you mean? Like that's important to you. That's you
It is
saying
important.
that.
I like that line.
They like make old fashions.
That's
with,
where
like,
I started to
glass
get
full of
concerned.
Cubes.
I was like, oh shit.
It's unacceptable in 2025.
The little cubes, like a diner.
One cube, maybe 3 cubes. Multiple cubes, go fuck yourself.
Might be out.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Might be out on Morton's.
Unbelievable. Like we should just like if I was the
I
leader of
prefer a glass
the
of wine
country
with my steak, though.
and if you serve me an old fashioned with like Diet Coke ice in it, I immediately commandeer your steakhouse.
When you
Like,
see
I
a
seize it
bright,
for
what do
the
you do
people.
when you see a bright red cherry and a huge slice of the orange
Oh.
just soaking inside of the old fashioned?
God, no.
You
like a
walk
Shirley
out.
Temple cherry. Oh,
It's
God.
just like that is it's so
blasphemy.
bad. It's so bad.
So
and
yeah, I
it
recently
hurts my
had,
soul.
yeah. Anyway, we're going down though. Let's go eat steak.
All right, we'll go eat steak. Thanks, everyone, for joining us, chat. Thanks for hanging out with us this whole time. We'll be back next week, Wednesday, live on YouTube. Check us out. I hope you guys like the new video quality, I think.
on the Spotify, new thing.
Ooh, what do we have?
Comments on the
Yeah.
Spotify?
Comment on the Spotify.
Yeah,
Ooh.
get up in there.
Comment
Yeah.
on the episode, like the video, share it with your mom. Sorry if we offended her, and see you next week.
And also, yeah, gentleman's handshake thank you for liking the video.
Yeah.
All right, guys. See ya. Bye.
Peace.